The smell hit me first. Diesel fumes, salty air, sweat. The kind of thick, humid stench that clings to your skin and settles in your lungs like wet cement. I was standing in the middle of a crowded border crossing somewhere in Texas. Hundreds of people pushing past me, babies crying, officers shouting, the fluorescent lights above buzzing like angry wasps. And then I heard it. A sound that changed everything. The sharp click of a keyboard, the soft beep of a scanner, and then silence. Complete and total silence from the man holding my passport. He looked at his screen, then at me, then back at his screen, and his face went white. Not confused, not suspicious. Terrified. "Ma'am?" His voice dropped so low I almost couldn't hear him. "Step out of the line. Follow me into this room. Now. My name is Sarah, and 15 years ago, someone decided I needed to die. Not with a bullet, not with a knife, but with a keyboard and a signature. If you've ever felt like someone was trying to erase you from existence, this story is for you. Hit subscribe right now, because what I'm about to tell you will make you check every document you own. Let me take you back to how I ended up in that room. 2 weeks earlier, I had been lying on a beach in Tulum, sun on my face, sand between my toes, trying to forget about my stressful job in Chicago, trying to remember what it felt like to just breathe. I had built a good life for myself over the past 15 years. Marketing director at a big firm, nice apartment, good friends. I had finally escaped the nightmare of my past and created something new. But as I walked through that border crossing on my way home, everything I thought I knew about my life came crashing down. The officer's name was Miller. He had a face like carved stone and eyes that had seen too much. He led me into a small, windowless room that smelled like stale coffee and industrial cleaner. He locked the heavy steel door behind us, and then he asked me a question that made my blood freeze. "Who are you, really?" "I'm Sarah Miller. I live at 1422 West Oak in Chicago. I'm a marketing director." "What's going on?" He turned the monitor toward me. There was my passport photo, my face, my name. But across the top of the screen in jagged red letters were 2 words I will never forget. Deceased, status closed, and underneath that, date of death. October 14th, 2009. I stared at that screen for what felt like hours. According to the United States government, I had died 15 years ago in a car accident in upstate New York. There was a death certificate, an insurance payout. My social security number had been retired. I was a dead woman walking. But I hadn't died. I knew that. I remembered October the 14th, 2009, perfectly. That was the day I had finally left my ex-husband, Mark. The day I had packed one bag in the middle of the night and disappeared to start a new life. I thought I was escaping. I thought I was being smart. I thought I was being safe. I didn't realize he had killed me anyway. Officer Miller looked at me with something that wasn't suspicion. It was closer to pity. "Your passport says you died in a car accident 15 years ago. Death certificate signed. Insurance paid out. Social security number retired. So I need to ask you again, who are you? And why are you carrying a dead woman's identity?" "I didn't die," I whispered. "I moved to Chicago. I got a new job. I've been paying taxes. I've been voting. How can I be dead?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out," Miller said. "Because if you really are Sarah Miller, then someone committed a massive amount of fraud to bury you while you were still breathing. And in my experience, when people go to that much trouble to make someone disappear on paper, it's because they don't want them coming back." My mind was racing. If I was legally dead, then everything I owned was built on a ghost's foundation. My bank accounts, my apartment, my career, all of it could disappear with one phone call. But that wasn't even the worst part. If I was dead, then someone had identified a body. Someone had claimed the insurance money. Someone had gone to my funeral and pretended to grieve. And I knew exactly who that someone was. Mark, my ex-husband. The man I had fled in the middle of the night because I was terrified of what he might do if I tried to leave him the normal way. Mark was a high-level actuary at one of the biggest insurance companies in the country. He understood systems. He knew how to find the cracks in bureaucracy. He knew how to make things happen without leaving fingerprints. When I ran away, I thought I was outsmarting him. I thought if I just disappeared quietly, he would move on with his life and forget about me. But Mark hadn't hunted me down with a weapon. He had hunted me down with paperwork. He had erased me from existence, and he had made money doing it. I need to call my mother, I said, reaching for my bag. Don't. Miller's voice was sharp. If she's in on this, you're tipping off the people who stole your life. Right now, you don't exist in the system, Sarah. You have no rights. If I process this by the book, I have to detain you as an identity thief. Then why are you helping me? He paused, looked at the door, then back at me. Because my sister disappeared 10 years ago. The system said she ran away. I think someone erased her too. He handed me my passport. I'm going to log this as a clerical error. That gives you maybe 48 hours before the system catches up. Use that time to find out who killed you on paper. Because people who go to this much trouble to turn someone into a ghost usually don't like it when that ghost starts talking. I walked out of that border station into the blinding Texas sun. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I wasn't just a woman coming home from vacation anymore. I was a walking crime scene. I checked into a cheap motel under a fake name, the first lie of my new reality. I opened my laptop and did something I never thought I would have to do. I searched for my own obituary. It didn't take long to find. Sarah Elizabeth Miller, age 24. Passed away tragically in a single vehicle accident. She is survived by her loving husband, Mark, who has established a memorial fund in her name. There was a photo of me, young, happy, smiling, completely unaware that my face would end up on a death notice I never signed up for. I scrolled down to the comments, hundreds of them. Messages from friends I thought had just stopped calling me. Tributes from old coworkers, people I had known my entire life mourning a woman who was still alive. They had all believed it, every single one of them. And then I saw the memorial fund amount, $2 million. Mark hadn't just erased me to be cruel. He had turned my disappearance into a payday. He had filed a fraudulent death certificate. He had claimed a $2 million insurance payout. He had let my own mother grieve for a daughter who was still breathing. All so he could keep the house, keep the car, keep the life he always said I wasn't good enough for. I felt something shift inside me, something cold and sharp and dangerous. He had stolen my identity, my reputation, my relationships. He had let everyone I loved think I was rotting in a grave somewhere while he cashed checks with my name on them. I wasn't going to let him get away with it. But I couldn't just go to the police. To them, I was either a ghost or a fraud. I needed leverage. I needed evidence. I needed someone who knew Mark's secrets, and I knew exactly who to call. His name was Julian. Julian had been Mark's assistant at the insurance company back in New York. Mark had treated him terribly, overworked him, belittled him, eventually fired him to cover up what Mark called a clerical error. I always suspected that error had something to do with me. I called the number I had saved in an old notebook. My hands were shaking as I listened to it ring. Hello? The voice on the other end was cautious, suspicious. Julian, it's Sarah Miller. Long silence. I could hear him breathing. This isn't funny. Sarah died years ago. Who is this really? I didn't die, Julian. I ran away to Chicago. I've been alive this whole time. But I just found out that Mark told the entire world I'm buried in a grave upstate. I need to know how he did it. Another long pause, then a whisper. My God. He told everyone the car burned. He said the dental records matched. Sarah, you don't understand. He didn't just get the insurance money. He used your death to build his entire career. He's the face of tragedy and resilience now. He's running for state senate. State senate? His whole platform is law and order. His whole story is about losing his young wife and turning that pain into purpose. Sarah, if you're really alive and you come forward now, you won't just ruin his campaign. You'll put him in prison. I need the files, Julian. I know you kept backups of his private server before. He fired you. You told me once you had insurance against him. Julian's voice dropped even lower. If I help you and he finds out I'm as dead as you are on paper. But I've hated myself for 10 years for staying quiet. Meet me in Albuquerque. It's halfway for both of us. And Sarah. Don't use your credit cards. He still has alerts set up on your social security number. That's probably how the border agent caught the flag in the first place. I took his advice. I traded my watch at a pawn shop for cash. I bought a beat-up sedan from a private seller who didn't ask for ID. And I started driving east through the desert toward a truth I had been running from for 15 years. Every mile felt like I was driving through a graveyard. Every billboard and gas station belonged to a world that didn't think I existed anymore. When I finally met Julian at a dusty diner off the interstate, he looked like he hadn't slept in a decade. He slid a thumb drive across the table without saying hello. It's all in there. The forged dental records, the bribe he paid to the coroner in that small upstate town, and the part that's going to make you sick. The John Doe records from a local morgue. I don't understand. Julian's face was gray. He found a woman who died in a house fire the same night you left. She had no family, no one to claim her body. He swapped the identification tags and buried her in your grave. I felt like I was going to throw up. There's a stranger in my coffin, and he's been paying maintenance fees on that grave ever since. Visits it twice a year with flowers. The whole grieving widower act. But there's more, Sarah. Like I said, he's running for state senate now. His entire campaign is built on the story of his lost love and how it inspired him to fight for justice. If you show up now, you don't just expose a fraud. You destroy everything he's built. I looked at that thumb drive in my hand. It was the key to my resurrection. But I knew Mark. If I went to the police or the press, he would use his political connections to bury me again. This time for real. I needed to confront him somewhere he felt safe. Somewhere he would let his guard down. Somewhere his arrogance would be his downfall. I drove to Albany. His campaign headquarters was draped in banners. Mark Miller for Senate. His face was everywhere. Older now, more polished, but with that same predatory look in his eyes that I had spent 15 years trying to forget. I walked into the lobby wearing a cheap hoodie and jeans, my hair tucked under a baseball cap. I looked like nobody. I looked like a ghost. I'm here to see Mark, I told the receptionist. She barely looked up from her computer. Do you have an appointment? Mr. Miller is preparing for the televised debate tonight. Tell him his lost love has a message for him. I slid a printed copy of the coroner's bribe across her desk. Tell him Sarah is waiting in the green room. Her face went white. She picked up the phone with trembling hands. 5 minutes. Later, 2 large men in suits escorted me to a private office in the back of the building. The door opened, and there he was, Mark. He looked at me, and for just 1 second, I saw real terror flash across his face. Then, the politician mask slid back into place. Sarah. His voice was smooth as silk. I must say, you've aged better than I expected for someone who's been dead 15 years. What do you want? Money? I can give you more than you've made in your entire Chicago career. I don't want your money, Mark. I want my life back. I want you to go to that podium tonight and tell the truth. He laughed, a dry, hollow sound that made my skin crawl. And why would I do that? To the world, you're an imposter. I have a death certificate. I have a grave. If you walk out there tonight, I'll have you arrested for harassment and fraud. I'll tell everyone you're a crazy fan who got plastic surgery to look like my dead wife. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a hiss. You should have stayed in Chicago. Sarah, you were safe there. Here I own the police. I own the narrative. You're a ghost. And ghosts don't have rights. I smiled. It was the first time I had felt truly powerful in 15 years. You're right, Mark. Ghosts don't have rights, but voters do. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small device. Your private office has great acoustics, by the way. I pointed to the lapel of my hoodie, a tiny blinking red light. Julian didn't just give me the files. He gave me the login to your campaign's live stream feed. Every word you just said about the bribe and the fraud and me being a ghost. It just went out live to the 20,000 followers waiting for your pre-debate pep talk. Mark's eyes darted to the computer on his desk. The comments were scrolling so fast the screen was a blur. Is this real? Oh my God. Someone call the police. Arrest him. The color drained from his face. That predatory confidence I had feared for so long just evaporated. And what was left was nothing but a hollow shell of a man watching his empire turn to ash in real time. The silence in that room was deafening. And then I heard sirens in the distance. The police arrived within minutes. But they weren't there for me. They were there for Mark. The evidence Julian had provided combined with Mark's own recorded confession left them no choice. He was arrested on the spot for insurance fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to tamper with public records. But my battle wasn't over yet. Being alive in person didn't automatically make me alive in the system. I spent the next 6 months fighting through a bureaucratic nightmare. Court appearances, DNA tests, fingerprint analysis. I had to prove to a judge that I was the same Sarah Miller who had supposedly died in a car fire 15 years earlier. One of the hardest days was the exhumation. They had to dig up the grave with my name on it. And inside that coffin was a woman who had died alone in a house fire. No family, no one to claim her, no one to remember her name. Mark had stolen her death just like he had tried to steal my life. I made sure she got a proper burial, with her real name on the headstone this time. No one deserved to be a prop in someone else's scheme, not even in death. Mark was sentenced to 12 years in prison. The $2 million he had stolen was seized. His political career was destroyed. The grieving widower turned out to be nothing but a con man in an expensive suit. And me? I moved back to New York. Not to the life I had before, but to a new one. A real one. I signed a lease with my real name for the first time in 15 years. I opened a bank account. I voted. Every time I had to show my ID, I didn't feel fear anymore. I felt pride. I was finally visible again. So here's what I want you to understand. Your identity is the most valuable thing you own. But it's not just a piece of plastic or a line in a database. It's not something that can be erased with a keystroke or buried with a signature. Mark thought he could kill me by changing a status in a computer. But he forgot something important. The truth has a way of breathing, even under the weight of 1,000 lies. We let people erase parts of us all the time. In relationships, in jobs, in families. We let them take our confidence, our dreams, our voice. We think that staying quiet is the same as staying safe. But safety without a voice isn't safety. It's just a different kind of grave. Don't let anyone own your story. Keep your records. Know your worth. And never be afraid to step into the light even when the whole world tells you that you don't exist. The truth might take 15 years to catch up, but when it does, it carries a power that no fraud can survive. My name is Sarah Miller. I am alive. And for the first time in my life, I am finally seen. If this story reminded you to protect your own truth, drop a comment below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button right now, because there are more stories of survival coming your way. Until next time, stay brave, stay visible, and never let anyone turn you into a ghost.